A friend of mine was a consulting IT person, a software engineer, working for an insurance company who wanted to know whether there was any correlation between what month you were born and whether you were accident prone. And so he was given 25 million bits of data, and he just reorganized it. He was an astrologer and reorganized the dates to see whether or not the correlation matched zodiac signs. And they did. I saw the data. It was so obvious that there was a worst driver and a best driver in the zodiac. And they were opposite signs. Scorpio and Taurus were the best and the worst. And the second best and the second worst in terms of being accident prone were Gemini and Sagittarius. It was really obvious that there was some truth, shall we say, in the idea that a zodiac sign can make a difference. However, it would not be reliable to say that any individual born within that zodiac sign was more accident prone, but the group. Statistics studies groups, not individuals. Taurus is a little bit more accident prone than Scorpio. And the same data was studied to see whether or not any of the signs were more likely to go on holiday abroad. And it was really obvious that the difference between Taurus and Sagittarius was absolutely remarkable. It was so obvious. However, and this is the interesting part that sets the mind racing into thought, the most likely to go abroad was Taurus, the least likely Sagittarius. Now, isn't that food for thought? The Gauquelins, husband and wife pair of French people, did a study about 50 years ago to see whether there was any statistical evidence to prove astrology, and they found that there was, but they came up with exactly the same idea, that although astrology clearly has got something going on, it's not hugely obvious, and actually astrologers have misinterpreted it to some extent. If astrology could predict the future, then there would be quite a small batch of them, of astrologers, who would be stinking rich. There would be millionaire astrologers by the handful, and there are not. Just think about that. So what is going on? Why do we all believe in astrology or disbelieve in astrology? Scientists say, no, astrology is rubbish. And you ask them what data they've got, what research they've done to back up their strong opinion on the matter. And it amounts to nothing. Nothing whatever. They haven't done any research at all. They just intuitively know astrology cannot work. And you ask them, well, what do you mean by astrology? What are you saying? And they don't know. It is rather assumed that what we mean when we say, does astrology work? We're saying, is there a causal relationship between planetary positions and behavior and events on Earth? That's what's assumed. But it should not be assumed. There's no reason to assume that that would be the only benefit of astrology. It's certainly not true to say that weather forecasting is a waste of time because it's not always right, nor economic forecasting and other ill-defined, unspecific sciences, like psychology is an obvious example. So astrology could actually have a great deal of value even if it were not evident that planets cause results in the world. Astrology actually forms a very detailed psychological map of the human condition, much more detailed than anything I've come across. And I've been looking into this. There are other systems that purport to tell you all about the human psyche. For example, the Enneagram, or the I Ching, or modern psychology, mythology, and all of them do very well indeed in their limited field. But none of them, in my experience, touches the complexity, the clarity, and the richness, the colourful richness that astrology does. So astrology is a map of the human psyche of some kind. Now, whether or not there's an exact fit between somebody's horoscope and their personality, this is under question, always under question. And I rather like a more subtle explanation than a causal relationship between planets and behavior. We can see that the moon's effect upon the Earth is strong, and that's because of its physical proximity. It's very close and it exerts gravity. Now, if the other planets have that kind of influence that could be measured by a scientist's instruments, as we can with the moon, then we would be able to do that. We would have done that. So if there are planetary emanations, they're not measurable. And that's a bit disturbing. Maybe they work, maybe they exist and we can't measure them yet. Maybe. But I prefer Occam's razor idea. In other words, the simplest explanation is the one we'll use for now. If we can explain what the planetary associations are doing to our psyche in a more simple way, a more believable way, then that is the explanation that we need to use. So what's going on here? And what's going on is rather like the operation of mythology. We're told that there were unicorns and griffins and 100-handed ones and cyclops and all sorts of things before history. Now, who knows? Did they exist some very, very long time ago when this planet was inhabited by conscious, intelligent beings who have left no historical trace? That's possible, isn't it? One explanation. Another is that they exist in the realm of mind. The realm of mind is a very definite place studied by Sufis called the astral plane. And within that realm, all manner of things exist that we can't see in physical form. Anything we can imagine exists in that realm. So that could be the realm of myth. And perhaps it is. And maybe astrology operates on that level. Maybe the myth of Jupiter and the myth of Venus is what we're tuning into. And when we're studying these planets in books and reading about their meanings and so on, we will notice several things. We will notice, first of all, that there's a collective idea, more or less, of what that planet means. But nobody is in absolute agreement with anyone else. That's interesting, isn't it? There's no definition, simply many descriptions which generally create more or less the understanding of what the planet means. That's interesting, that it should be so ill-defined. That's rather like mythology, isn't it? And when you are transited by one of these planets against your natal planet, you are told that you're likely to experience this, or that, or the other. It's, again, not definitive. It's a description of what could happen. And the best, most accurate representation of what goes on in a transit is that, look, between that time and that time, roughly speaking, something significant is going to happen to do with this kind of energy. It could be Pluto, in which case you go through a big change. It could be Neptune, in which case you'll lose your sense of what you believe in, and so on. If you describe it like that, you're more or less certain to be on the button. But any inferences made from that generic, general background information, that starts to move you into the realm of myth creation. You're creating an expectation in the mind of the client. Now then they will very likely look for evidence that what you said is right or wrong. But they'll look for evidence in response to what you said. Normally, they'll try and validate it because astrologers have tremendous authority for some reason. It's like the white coat and the stethoscope of the doctor. When you say, I'm an astrologer, you claim this extra authority, as though you can know things that other people cannot know. And people actually say, what does my horoscope say? As though this bit of paper with symbols on it says something. It's not the horoscope that says anything, it's the astrologer that says things, interpreting the horoscope. And when we interpret the myth of astrology, we are creating a thought form and placing that thought form in the mind of the client. Now, this is a tremendous responsibility, and the best thing that we can do is make sure that when we do that, we give them the right to disagree freely, and we make it known that this is an opinion, not the facts of the matter. And secondly, we make sure we present ourselves in a positive light, that even though there might be an upset, nevertheless, in the longer term, this is for the best for the client. You have to spin your mythology towards the light, surely, or we become black magicians. And I've seen that happen. I've seen astrologers curse a client, put a spell upon a client. It's awful. But we get off the point. What's on the point is that astrology, if it were a science, it would be measurable and there would be rich ones. Neither of those two things is true. It's not like that. It's a soft science at best. It's an art, really. And the art creates in us, in the same way that poetry does, or art or music, it creates in us a state of mind. That's the purpose of astrology, I think, to create in the astrologer and the client a state of mind. And in that rather nebulous, poetic, artistic state of mind, information passes on a subtle level between client and astrologer, or between self and book even, the writer of a book. In some mystical way, we can actually understand ourselves more deeply when we're using the symbols of astrology, because they have power. Now, this is not just a new idea. This has been known for thousands of years, that symbols contain power. That's the study of symbolism and esotericism, that we know that symbols create powerful effects in the realm of mind. And this is what astrology does. It creates in us the ability to read the mind of the client and to give voice to their yearnings and expectations and hopes and dreams and fears even. And we can pick that up on the subtle level and give voice to it, all unconsciously. In the same ways that we can channel higher self or spirit guides, and we don't necessarily know it's going on, but it does go on. That's how astrology works for me.